Hello. Today I would like to make a guide on what I believe to be one of the best farming methods in the game right now. Even though the patch has been out for only a few days, I don't think there's a lot of other farming methods that involve so many OP mechanics into one. What I will show you is a scarab farming strategy. The reason scarabs are always a good farming strategy is because every single other farming strategy needs scarabs. And if you noticed in the endgame mapping, if you've gotten there so far, I've been testing on standard, so I've done a lot of mapping so far. But scarab drop rates are significantly lower than they were last league. I believe this is potentially due to the removal back to basics, but also the rebalancing of T17 maps and quant modifiers on different league mechanics. So because of this, high-end scarabs that produce lots of currency per hour on other farming strategies, I believe those scarabs will be very, very, very expensive. The OP mechanics that I believe push this over the edge is 1. Scarabs. If you farm scarabs, you want a lot of scarab nodes on the tree, but all the scarab nodes are pathing. As you can see, 3%, 3%, 3%, 4%. All of these combined, you're getting like 100% more scarabs. So 100% more profit is pretty good, even though it takes a lot of points. Another OP thing is, obviously, just like previously, map effect. So if you pick up all the map effect on the Atlas tree, you're getting like 100% also there. That's another 2x multiplier. Now the super OP one is this node, and that is for a single node, you are getting 200% increase chance to drop scarabs. Now, they think it's balanced because you only have to kill uniques to get this bonus, but what we are doing is we are combining this with rogue exiles, and rogue exiles count as uniques, and so with 100% on the tree and 200% here, that's 300% base. And also, the rogue exiles are all possessed by this node. And possessed, I don't know what the multiplier is, but it's a lot. It increases their quantity by a lot. Four of these mechanics make it so that rogue exiles drop a shit ton of loot. And so for the scarabs that we run, I'm still testing this, but I think there's 3 different possibilities that you could run. There are 2 scarabs that you 100%, I believe, are going to be running, and that is the new Titanic Scarab. This, again, is buffing unique monsters, which is buffing the Rogue Exiles, and it basically makes them harder, but they increase the rarity, quantity, by the amount of pack size you have on the map. And since, obviously, T17s are the best maps, and T17s have you can roll them to have pretty high pack size, and then also, since our Atlas tree increases the map effect, you're basically a 100% more quantity just for this Scarab. Also, rarity, since unique should be a lot more expensive this league than previous league because of the nerf, but we'll see about that in the coming days. The second one that is required is this one, 50% chance to get double exiles, which on the Atlas tree you also get another 30%. So there's an 80% chance to basically double your rogue exiles, which is another 100% more multiplier, basically. And so the first strategy, I'll say this is the easy mode version. So the easy mode version is you just throw in a bunch of rogue exiles. The reason we aren't using the other rogue exile one, where you get like a rogue giant, and the rogue giant splits up into smaller rogue exiles, I did test that, but since when you kill a rogue exile and they split, the split ones aren't ghosted, and since ghosted mobs have such a big quant multiplier, I don't believe that is the best strategy. I haven't ran hundreds and hundreds of maps, so I don't know for sure, but I believe that specifically killing ghosted rogue exiles is the way to go. So that's why I do triple anarchy for the easy version. So the harder version, again, I haven't ran hundreds of maps, but you're still using the Titanic and the partnering Scarab, but instead of just throwing in a bunch of rogue exiles, we throw in 2 wisps. This is the limit of 2, so we hit the 2. And this is going to make your rogue exiles way, way, way harder because wisps make them like tanky as hell and do a lot of damage. Again, this is another more multiplier to it. It's basically like having double ghosted rogue exiles. They drop a lot more loot. I do not know if it is better, and also the time investment. So if your build can't kill these rogue exiles very fast when they're have 4,000 wisps on them, then don't do the strategy. But again, this is a possibility. I haven't tested it that much because the next Scarabs that I'm using, I believe, really can't be beaten if your build can do the maps. So again, Titanic and Partnership Scarabs, but now the very OP but very, very dangerous Scarab is the Cartographer Scarab of Risk, which randomly puts a modifier on your map, and we're running these in tier 17s, so there's a lot of builds out there that go for POB DPS and not real world farming strategy or killing mobs. The Spark character that I run can run every single mod except for two, and that is less flask effect and less defense. It is a legacy character, but I'm just pointing out that investing your character into more damage or more defenses instead of nullifying T17 map mods, I believe is better. The reason these are good is because T17 maps have 6 modifiers on it, and going to up to 8, I mean, mathematically that's an increase of 33% more loot, but if you hit very, very strong additional modifiers like pack size, you can put 25% pack size on it, you put 50% increased scarabs, it's just a more multiplier on top of that. That isn't necessarily in and of itself the potentially the best, because I mean these are probably like close to 20%, 30% multipliers on your loot anyway, because you're doubling the amount of rogue exiles that you're getting. But the reason I run this is because since T17s drop Uber fragments, the additional quantity that you get from these random modifiers is very much needed, so that when you kill the T17 bosses, they drop double or triple Uber fragments. And since those fragments will likely be very, very expensive, just like they were in the last league, this is not only buffing the rogue exiles, but also the bosses. This strategy, I believe, is the most profitable. Another thing is that deli orbs can be used on T17 maps. I'm pretty sure they're just a flat quantity multiplier, although I'm not 100% sure. And if they're not, they just add a bunch of mobs to the map for pretty cheap. I would add at least one deli orb to each T17 map that you're running. But, I mean, if you have literally infinite damage, infinite speed, and can do literally anything, could do 100% deli T17 maps. And again, I need more testing, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be that you have more quant, more loot in general, the higher deli that you get. Again, GGG rebalanced this a few days ago with quantity and the amount of loot that you get from league mechanics, so we'll see if this is true. The last thing is how I roll my maps. So I get at least 50 pack size and 100% scarab on my maps, and then I at least throw one deli orb on it. So this is the baseline that I would do. This is like the bare minimum that I would run. The reason we get 4 pack size, again, is because of the Titanic Scarab, because pack size equals quantity and rarity. I mean, pack size obviously doesn't affect the rogue exiles, so that really doesn't matter. All these mechanics basically compile into rogue exiles dropping a ton of loot, and then if you're going the super hard strategy, your T17 boss will also drop double or triple fragments. So, this is the strategy I believe is extremely strong. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll get to them. Thanks.